This is a new worked solutions video for my Year 7 and Year 8 classes, looking at how we used graphs to represent data in statistics. I'm going to go through the questions on this week's homework, and I hope it is helpful to you as we try to unpick some of that. Before we do, a couple quick reminders. If you do get stuck on a question, do remember that there's a video underneath each question which you can look at. So I include those in my description, but I know some people hurry on just to see what questions they can do. We also have some hints, and you can see here at the bottom, I've given you a hint just to remind you about some of our previous learning statistics. And then underneath there, you'll see there's a place where it says your message. So if you've done that question and it just is not letting you have the right answer, you're welcome to drop me a line. Obviously, you can use ShowMyHomework, but then we have to try and find the question. Here, drop me a line and I will get notification that you want help with something in particular. So please do make use of that. So let's have a look at these questions together. So question 1, we have a line graph, number of marks Stacey scores in her homeworks. Now, it's very tempting with a question like that to give quick answers without thinking about what it really means. And in the hint, I said, write it out in full. So it means that there were 4 times we got a 0. 5 times we got a 1. And if you write out in full, you get this. And you can see from this long line that those are the different homeworks that Stacey, the marks she got for them. So when I'm looking for my mode, I'm looking at that and saying, well, which number appears the most often? And I can see that 1 appears 5 times. So 1 must be my mode. Now, some students don't really understand it, and they'll say, well, the mode must be 5 because that's the biggest number. It's not the biggest number we're looking for. It's the number that occurs the most frequently, and therefore it's going to be 1. What about my median? Well, I'm going to look at those. I'm going to look for the middle number. And here you can see that I have crossed off going from right and from the left. I've crossed off 9 numbers on the left, 9 numbers on the right. And in the middle, I have a 2 and a 2. And that tells me my median is going to be halfway between 2 and 2, which of course is 2. And what about my mean? Well, again, if you can't remember that, do look at my YouTube video from last week. But I'm going to add them all together. So I'm going to add 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 2 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 3 and 3 and 3 and 4 and 4 and 4 and 5. Add all of those together and then divide by how many homeworks there were. Well, I can see that she submitted a total of 20 homeworks. So when I do that, you can see that the total comes to 40. So 40 divided by 20 gives me a mean of 2. Let's stick that into MathsWatch and hit submit answer. And there is our first correct. Going on to question 2. So very, very similar. We're going to do exactly the same thing. There's 18 games. We're going to write them out and then from that work out our averages and our totals. And here I've written it out in full. And you can see we've got 1 lot of 0 and 4 lots of 1 and 5 lots of 2 and so forth. So I'm asked, first of all, how many games had 0 goals scored? Well, we can see that happened once. We're asked how many goals there were in total. Well, you can add that up. You can do 0 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 and so forth, and you'll come to 41 goals. Or you can actually do this. You can do a bit of maths. You can do 0 times 1 and 4 times, actually 1 times 0, shouldn't it? That looks a bit better now. It's 1 lot of 0 and 4 lots of 1 and 5 lots of 2 and 6 lots of 3 and you can use multiplication rather than adding to give you the same total. And then finally we are asked to find the median. And so again, we haven't put them in order. You can see in the middle it's going to be 2. And again, go back to MathsWatch and do that. And there are our answers, and hopefully we're getting the hang of this. So lots and lots of practice. Line graph. If you were completely confused by this, it might be worth just pausing the video and trying a couple more yourself. We've got some shoes here, and we're going to write down, well, this time we know that no one has shoes, has no pairs of shoes, so the minimum is going to be 1, maximum is going to be 6, and we want to find the mode, the median, and the mean, and again, we're going to write it out in one long line. So here I have written out the numbers, and we were asked first of all to find the mode. So which number appears the most? Well, I can see that I have 5 lots of 3. So again, my mode is not 5, my mode is 3, because 3 appears 5 times, which is the most common number of, the most frequent number of pairs of shoes. Even though 6 is bigger than 3, doesn't matter. It's the frequency, it's the number of children that matter to us. I'm asked about my median. So again, I'm looking in the middle. I can see there's 6 to the left and 6 to the right. So in the middle, I've got a 3 and a 3. So my median must be 3. And then to find my mean, I can add them all up. I can do 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. Or I can do the shortcut, and I can just write it like this. 2 lots of 1, 3 lots of 2, 5 lots of 3, etc. gives me 42. I know that there are 14 pairs of shoes, so my mean would be, or 14 children actually, it will be 42 lots of shoes divided by 14 children, and therefore my mean will be 3. It just takes a bit of practice. And it is unusual to have a question where every single average comes out as exactly the same, but there we go, they are all 3. So I made a comment there in my hint to remind you that your average, whether it's a mean or a mode or a median, must be somewhere between the lowest number and the highest number. For example, I was looking at one person's work last week, and they worked out the mean was 10 pairs of shoes, and they'd made a calculation error. Well, there's no way that the average could be greater than the maximum. No one has got more than 6 pairs of shoes, so it is impossible that the average could be 10. It must be somewhere between 1 and 6. Moving on. Here is yet another one. Hopefully we're getting a bit quicker. I'll go through this one much more quickly. So here's my data. What have we got? Well, my mode I know is going to be 1 because it occurs the most often. My median is going to be in the middle, and I can see that 2 has got the same number of points to the left as to the right of it, so it's going to be the median. I'm asked how many families there are and how many cars there are. Now this one's a little bit tricky. How many families there are is basically how many numbers I have on the top line. So I've got a 0 and a 0 and a 1 and a 1 and a 1 and a 1 and a 2 and a 2. How many do I have? I have 15. I have 15 numbers, and each of those 15 families has a different number of cars. How many cars do I have? Well, it's going to be 2 lots of 0, 5 lots of 1, 4 lots of 2, 3 lots of 3, and 1 lot of 4. And that's a little bit more complex. So I can use my multiplication if I want to, and I find that there are 26 cars. And then my mean works out at 1.73 repeating, which becomes 1.7 rounded to 1 decimal place. Let's put it in MathsWatch. And here we go. And moving on to the next one. Question 5. Here I'm told to draw a frequency diagram for the data. Well, to do that, I'm going to be using my ruler. So here's my ruler over here. And I want to draw some rectangles. It's a frequency diagram. So I know that from 0 up to 5, let's use this one here to show me. From 0 up to 5, we're going to have a box that looks like that. And from 5 to 10, I'm going to have a box that goes up to 6. It's going to look like that. Let me just draw those two for you first of all. So there's my first two boxes. You may notice that I'm not quite on the grid line, and MathsWatch may make a fuss about that. Then from 10 to 15, it's going to go up to 7. I'm going to have a rectangle here up to 7. And from 15 to 20, it's going to go up to 3. And it's going to look like that. Let's just have a look at that then. So I appreciate it's a little bit hard to see that, but we have my rectangles there. Height 4, height 6, height 7, and height 3. Now MathsWatch can be a bit fussy. Let's see if it likes me or not. And yep, it's giving me the marks for that. So that's a frequency diagram. And here we're asked for another frequency diagram, exactly the same idea. And so there's my boxes. We have one of 6, one of 8, one of 7, and one of 4, and looking something like that. Question 7. I'm asked first of all to complete my frequency table. So how I want to do this, it's entirely up to you. You might want to do a tally chart, for example, to make sense of that as we complete it. The key thing here is that I notice I have a 10. And 10 is important because row 2 says between where the height is greater than 5 and less than or equal to 10. And row 3 says greater than 10 and less than or equal to 15. So which row is my 10 going to appear in? Well, it's going to appear in the second row because that's less than or equal to. Whereas the third row would be greater than 10, so 10 can't appear there. So let's just fill in that table quickly. And having done that, I now need to get my ruler and to draw in rectangles of 2, 7, 8, and 3. And again, a little bit difficult to see that with the contrast. Not quite in the grid lines. Let's hope MathsWatch will be generous to me. And so 2, 7, 8, and 3. And there we go. Question 8. Again, we've got a frequency diagram. This time, we are asked to interpret this data. So I'm asked, for example, how many students are greater than 145 centimeters, how many are between 125 and 140, and how many students are in the class in total. So first thing I've done is I have drawn on my bar chart the numbers so I can see. I'm asked how many students have a height greater than 145. So I can see that's 140. This is 145. So greater than 145 would be here, or here, or here. So there's 8 students and 4 students and 1 student. 8 and 4 and 1 gives me 13 students. Next I'm asked how many between 125 and 140. Well, here's 140, so it's this one and this one. And 125 is here, so it's going to be 2 and 5 and 6, which I get also to be 13. And finally, how many students in total? I add up all of them, 3 and 2 and 5 and 6 and so forth, and I get that to be 37. Let's stick it in MathsWatch. And there we go. And we are, there we go, making sense of our numbers. Number 9. Now, the question has changed. It says, draw a frequency polygon for the data. This is similar to a frequency diagram, but it's a polygon. We're going to draw some x's instead of drawing bars. So if I have between 0 and 10 at 6, I'm going to look at 0 and 10 and find the halfway mark, which is 5. I'm going to go up the 5 till I get to a frequency of 6 and drop my x just there. And then between 10 and 20, whereas previously I might have drawn a bar between 10 and 20, I'm going to go up between halfway is 15, and I'm going to go up there till I get a frequency of 8. So frequency polygons use the midpoint. That isn't quite on. I'm just going to redo that one. So that should be on 8. And then we have between 20 and 30. Well, halfway between 20 and 30 is 25. And that's a frequency of 7. And then finally, between 30 and 40, well, halfway between 30 and 40, the midpoint is 35, which is here. And that should be 4. And once I've drawn my x's, that's great. I now need to line them up with my ruler. So here's my ruler, and I'm going to just join from there up to here. Do that as quick as I can. There's 1x. And then I'm going to go over to here. And Mathswatch may be a little bit fussy about your accuracy. See if it's going to be nice to me or not. And then over to here. And there is my frequency polygon. Let's see if it liked it or not. And it was close enough. Now notice I don't need to connect down to 0 or down to 40. Just connect the points that are there. We've got a little bit of practice now. Trying some more of these. So number 10. Again, I've got something very, very similar. And if you do it very quickly, and we should get something like that. I think my x isn't quite right there, but we'll see how it does. And yep, it's making a fuss that I have not got my line quite up as far here as it ought to be. So it's given me 2 out of 3 marks, but you've got the idea. I'm not going to redo it just for now. I'll move on to question 11. So again, we want a frequency polygon. We're going to look at our data. And the interesting one here is going to be 15. So what's 15 going to give me? Is it going to be on the 3rd row or the 4th row? Or the, and I can see that less than or equal to 15 is the 3rd row, but greater than 15 is the 4th row. So it's going to occur on my 3rd row. So let me just fill in the frequency table very quickly. And there you can see I've done my frequencies, and there is our polygon, and hopefully we're getting the hang of this now. Moving on, question 12. Here we're asked how many 18-year-old students take part in the survey, and the graph does look a bit complicated, but I notice that I have some distinct figures at 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 60, 70 minutes. Beyond that, it's all at 0. So how many students took part in the survey? Well, it's going to be 30 at 10 minutes, and 20 at 20 minutes, and 60 at 30 minutes, and then 70. And basically, I'm going to add up all of those values. And when I do that, I find that there were 320 18-year-olds. And then I go back and I've said how many more 18-year-olds than 12-year-olds spent between 25 and 35. Well, I'm not given any data for 25. It's been rounded to the nearest 10. So I'm going to look at 30 minutes. So at 30 minutes, how many 18-year-olds do I have? I can see there's 60. At 30 minutes, how many 12-year-olds do I have? I see that's 40. So I'm going to say, well, there's 60 in one, 40 in the other. So hopefully it's 20 students is the difference. See how we did? And that is indeed correct. Going on, question 13. Again, we have a frequency table to complete. We need to put that into the table, and then we're going to use that with our frequency polygons. I'm going to show you the polygons because it's a little bit trickier this time. So there I've completed my frequency table, and the very first point is done for me. And notice here, it's between 85 and 90. So if this is 85 and this is 90, this is the halfway mark. It's going to be 87.5. So for my next row, between 90 and 95, well, that's 90, it's 95. It's going to be along this line here, and I'm going to look for 3 between 90 and 95. For my next one, between 95 and 100, because 95 is 100, it's going to be along this line. It's going to go up to 6. If I was between 100 and 105, it would be along this line. It's 102.5. Going to go up to 4. Oops. And then between 105 and 110, going up to 3. And then having plotted those, I'll now join up the lines. So it should look something like that. Again, assuming that I'm right on the edge, but not always. And again, it hasn't given me the full marks. So I wonder, where does it think that I've gone wrong? Possibly my line there should be in a little bit higher. But never mind, let's go on to question 14. We have a pie chart. Now, a pie chart is again a different way of making sense of our data. And with all of these things, if you've probably done some pie charts beforehand. If you can't remember, on Show My Homework, I have given you the mass watch clips that you can look at. But also, for lots of the clips, I also have Corbett maths, and you're welcome to look at those. And some people prefer Corbett maths, some people prefer mass watch. I don't mind. I'm just trying to give you an alternative, since you haven't got a teacher in front of you, that it's good that you can have some way of trying to fill in the gaps here. So, how do I do this question? I know that there are 60 people. I know that a full revolution on a pie chart gives me 360 degrees. So all 60 people have to somehow represent 360 degrees. So the question I'm going to ask myself is, how much is one person? So easy way to do that is to do 360 divided by 60, and that tells me the one person must be 6 degrees. So if one person is 6 degrees, here for other, it would be 2 times 6. For Greece, it would be 15 lots of 6. And I'm going to turn it into a number in just a minute ago. 18 lots of 6 degrees and 25 lots of 6 degrees. So let's just calculate that and stick it into my table. And I get it to be 150, 108, 90, and 12. And at this point, it's worth just checking. Actually, am I confident about that? And let's just check that 150 plus 108 plus 90 plus 12. That does add up to 180, so 360. So that's looking good. Now I have to fill in these 4 sectors, but I only have 2 sectors drawn. So I need to draw some more. Now, I can tell that the very first one being done for me already, that's 150 degrees. So I'm going to type in here, this one is France. Because if you read the little blue at the bottom, it says, draw your pie chart in a clockwise direction from the line already drawn, follow the order, France, then Spain, etc. So I know that's going to be 105. But now I need to get my protractor, and I want to measure 108 degrees. So the first thing I've done is I have twisted around my protractor, so this line with the 0 point there in the middle of the pie chart, and my blue's line, the edge of it is lying along the edge of the France. I'm going to drag the blue, and you should see that my angle is increasing. Now, MassWatch is notoriously tricky when it comes to using protractors. And it's hard enough with an ordinary protractor trying to get the right angle. This one makes it quite tricky, but I've got it increasing at what looks to, that's about 45 degrees, that looks about right. Going to go up to 108 degrees. Once I've got that, I can now use my ruler, and I'm going to grab my ruler and I'm going to draw along this line. I'm going to draw from there to there, and hopefully that's going to work nicely for me. And then I need to draw 90 degrees or 12 degrees. Probably 90 degrees is the easiest one to do. So I'm going to draw this one back up to here. That's my new line. I'm going to find 90 degrees. And I'm going to use my ruler again and try to draw from there, right from the middle of the pie chart, along that line there. And that should be about there. And if I'm happy with that, get rid of the ruler, get rid of the protractor. And again, I'm not quite in the middle there, but hopefully it'll be okay. So this one should be Spain. And this one should be Greece. And then the last one, the very small one, should be the others. So that's how we would do the pie chart. Am I close enough? Well, it happens that I am. Terrific. Question 15. Again, a very similar idea. This time I'm told there are 900 people in the last election. So my problem is going to be, again, how many is one person? Well, I'm going to do 360 degrees divided by 900 people. And that tells me that one person is 0.4 of a degree. So my labor will be 345 times 0.4. For conservatives will be 480 times 0.4, and so forth. So let me just fill in that table for you just now. And there's my values. Again, I want to just check that. So 138 plus 192 plus 24 plus 6, that comes to 360. Fill in my table. Again, the blue says draw clockwise. So start off with labor. So I'm going to fill in labor there. And then I want to have conservatives 192 degrees. So again, I'll grab my protractor. And I'm going to, first I want to get my this color over along this line here. So that's about right. I want to get 192 degrees. So 19192. So that's going to be quite a big one. Get my ruler. And let's see if we can't draw that straight line. And it's about there. If I got it wrong, I can always redo it. And then I'm going to similarly draw this up to, let's move it up along a little bit. Move this along to there. And I want to have 24 degrees. A little bit tricky, but there's 24 degrees. And again, I'll grab my ruler and try and draw that along that line just there. I think I'm not quite in the center. And that's approximately right. So get rid of my ruler, get rid of my protractor. And again, not exactly right, but hopefully it'll be close enough. So this one will be conservative. The next one here is going to be Lib Dem. So Lib Democrat. These are all political parties. And then the other one is going to be other. So MassWatch may complain about my last sector. Let's see how we do. And actually it did complain about the last one. Well, never mind. I will forgive myself on this occasion because I don't want the video to last hours and hours and hours. Okay, question 16. We have a pie chart. So we need to, this one's a true false, need to be really careful, well at least so pie chart. The favorite lesson of a group of students. For each statement below, decide if it's true or false or impossible to say. So I'm told that half of the students chose mathematics. Does that look about right? Well, my sector for mathematics does look like a straight line. It looks about 180 degrees. I'm going to go for that must be true. Most of the pupils really like their school. Well, they may do, they may not do, but they haven't been asked this. And because they haven't been asked this, we cannot tell. So that's going to be a C. More pupils chose science than PE. Well, it looks to me that science is about 90 degrees. So I beg your pardon, PE is about 90 degrees and science is more like about 60 degrees. So actually, I think it's the other way around. I think more students chose PE than chose science. So I'll mark that down as a B. And then 20 of the students chose maths. Now that suggests to me that if 20 of them chose maths, and that's half of everything, there must be 40 students in total. I'm told half of the rest chose PE. Well, half of 20 would be 10. So if maths is 20, PE is 10, then the rest must all be another 10, because 40 take away 30 gives me 10. Have a look at that one. And there we go. So 4 questions left. Question 17, we're going to use the pie chart to complete the table. How are we going to do this? Well, we're going to measure some angles. We're going to use a protractor. So what can I do here? I know that there are 36 pupils traveling to school. So again, the first thing I'm going to do is tell me how many degrees is one pupil. So 360 divided by 36 tells me that one pupil must be 10 degrees. That's my starting point. I look at the bus. I can see that the bus is 120 degrees. Well, how many lots of 10? Obviously, the bus must be 12. I notice that walk has a little square sign. That means it's a right angle, which is 90 degrees. So how many lots of 10 in 90 degrees? Well, there are 9. So there must have been 9 students there. And then I need to use my protractor to measure car and bike. And again, this can be a little bit tricky to do, but we will have a go, see how we do. Let's put that up here, put this one along here, and it looks like this is 70 degrees. So I'm going to say that bike is 7. And let's just do the same thing with car. And we could calculate it, but I think it's just worth doing the measuring. And that looks to me 77, maybe 79, not quite lined up. It's approximately 80. So let's go for 8 people, 8 lots of 10. And let's just check that. 9 plus 12 plus 8 plus 7. If I'm right, that should give me 36. And it does. There we go. Question 18. We have a stem and leaf diagram. Now the thing about stem and leaf diagrams, it says at the bottom 1/4 means 14. So I'm going to express these in terms of, these are my tens. So 0, 1, 2, and 3. So 3 is 0, 3. 8 is 0, 8. 12 is 1 and a 2. Another 12 is 1 and a 2. 14 is 1 and a 4. 20 is 2 and a 0. 21 is 2 and a 1. 23 is 2 and a 3. 26 is 2 and a 6. And 34 is 3 and 4. Now that's relatively straightforward. Sometimes they're not in order, but what's important is that they need to be in their stems. So that's the tens place and then the units to the right of it. And that can vary, but they need to be in ascending order. So there's a simple one to practice. And then question 19, a little bit trickier. we're told that 2, 4, something 5. Well, that means 245. So what's my smallest number? I've got a 245. Anything less than 245 doesn't look like it. So it's going to be 240, 250, 260, and 270. So with this one, I'm going to start putting them together. It looks like they are in order. So 245, 250, 251, 253, 258, 264, 267, 269, 273, and 276. There we go. Question 20. And question 20, again, we're asked to interpret this. So I'm told what's the range of years, how many people represented by the diagram, what's the median age, etc. Well, there's several ways of doing this. One way of doing it is actually to write it out and say, what does this represent? Because the 2 and the 1 means 21. The 2 and the 3 means 23. And let me show you what happens when I write it out in full. So here I have written out my values in full. So there I can see when I'm asked the range, the biggest value is 55. Youngest value is 21. So my range will be 55, take away 21. Now, a lot of people get themselves confused with that. People saying, well, it's 5, take away 1 or something like that. But no, it's 55, take away 21. I'm asked how many people there are. Well, I've got 2 people here. I've got 4 people there. I've got 6 people there and 5 people there. So to work it out, I'm just going to add up 2 and 4 and 6 and 5 to give me how many people there are. And then for my median, well, I'm going to do what I'd normally do. I'm going to first of all select 2 people here and select those. Other side, 2 people, cross them off. Let's have another 2 people, the youngest over there. Another 2 people over here, the youngest, cross them off. Let's have 1 person here and 1 person there. And I'm slowly working my way to the beginning. So 35, youngest, oldest, 49. And I'm down to 43, 44, 46, 48, 49. Let's have 43 and 49. And you can see there, hopefully, that 46 must be my middle value. Now I could write it out in length just along one row, but I find that easier to do than trying to just look at the stem and leaf diagram. And that's quite a useful trick that may prove helpful to you. Let's stick it into MathSwatch. And there's my values, and yep, there we go. And so there's a good practice in using our graphs. Now, if you are in my year 7 and 8 class, thank you for watching this. I hope it was helpful. What I want to ask you to do now is to go back and look at this homework. Now, if you got 100% already, then fantastic. Thank you for watching it. You are done. If you didn't get 100%, and to be honest, it's quite challenging to get 100%. Even I didn't, because a couple of them, I didn't quite get the lines marked up exactly. I want you to go back and try some of those questions again. You don't have to do all of them. You can if you want to do all of them, but I want you to do some more. Now, obviously you could just have this open and just copy in the answers, but then there'd be no learning taking place. I would rather that having watched this video, you went back, tried a couple of questions, maybe stem and leaf, maybe some of the frequency polygons. It's entirely up to you, but try a couple of them, try some of them, and then try it without looking at the video a second time. If you need to watch the video, that's okay, go ahead. But learning will be more effective if, having watched it, you then try it by yourself. And then do as many as you can. But that's your challenge, not only to watch this video, but then to go back and to improve your score. So thank you very much, and I hope it's been helpful. As always, any feedback would be appreciated.